Hi friends, it's Grace and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be my April wrap-up, and this is definitely my shortest reading month of the year. Even though it's not a short month, I got less reading done in terms of number of things finished, but it was just a really busy month, and it was still a pretty good month in terms of enjoying the things I was reading. So I finished 4 books, and I had 2 kind of in progress that I did read from, but I didn't finish. So I'm just gonna start with those because obviously they don't have ratings or anything. I'm still reading them. So the first one is A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin. I got just over 100 pages into this, and I was kind of hitting a mental block with it just because there are other things that I was more excited to read, and I have this thing in my brain about how I know that A Storm of Swords was my favorite book from the series, and I just wasn't getting through this very easily at the beginning. I do enjoy parts of this first 100 pages that I read, and I think it hits its stride a little bit more later in the book, but for now I'm just taking it very slowly and reading little chunks of it whenever I feel like it, and so I really have no timeline for finishing it. I'm just kind of in this book right now, and maybe in a month, maybe in even June, I will finish this, and then I'll move on to A Dance with Dragons. I'm really not in a hurry, but this is one that I will be reading for a while, just not sure when it'll be done. Then my next book that is still in progress is Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. This one I also got about 100 pages into. Actually, that's funny. I am exactly on page 112 of both of these books. However, this is one that I started on I think April 22nd or something like that. So I didn't finish a book in the final week of the month just because I started this and then I had to work, and then I was away visiting my friend for her birthday, and just life stuff. I was reading this maybe 1 chapter every day, basically, just because I didn't have a lot of time. However, I am still obviously reading it. I just have a lot of books on the go right now, so I'm trying to juggle them. This is going to be slow going for now as well until I finish another book, but yeah, I plan to hopefully finish this in May. I don't think this one should take me that long, but I've enjoyed the start of it. I'm gonna see how this kind of revenge storyline works for me throughout a whole book. I'm on board with the characters and everything. I'm just not sure if I'm gonna get fatigued of such a singularly focused plot, but I'm not saying that I will get tired of it, and I've enjoyed the beginning of it. So yeah, this one is still on the cards. Now into the things that I actually finished. So, like I said, it was 4 books. One of them was a 3.75 star, one of them was a 4.5, and then 2 of them were 5 stars. So as I usually do, I will start on the low end and move my way up. Now, the 3.75 star is The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker, and I'm not gonna say too much about this one here because I do have an entire dedicated video for this where I vlogged my thoughts and went pretty into detail on my journey, my feelings journey throughout this book, and so that was for Reading Booktuber's favorite books, and it was recommended to me by Matt from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews, and so his channel has exploded. He just hit 10k, but on the off chance that you are not subscribed to Matt, I will have his channel linked in the description, and you should definitely check him out. And so yeah, this book, it didn't start strong for me, but I really did love the ending, and that's all I'll say about it here, because like I said, if you're looking for in-depth thoughts, they are very in-depth in that other video, but I'm looking forward to continuing on with this series just because the ending was the strongest part of this for me, and I'm hoping that will carry through into book 2. Next up, the 4.5 star read that I had is The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince by Robin Hobb. So this is the only novella in the realm of the Elderlings, and I've heard conflicting thoughts on when you can read this. You can definitely read it in between Tawny Man books or even before that. This does not directly impact main timeline events because this is in the past, and this gives us some insight into the culture that's been created in this world about the wit and like the people who are known as the old blood or the Piebalds. Like this just gives you a little bit more insight and like the history of the world and kind of like how some of these magics got mixed into certain bloodlines. And it was really, really interesting. Like this has a really strong storyteller, like a really strong character voice that we're reading from. And it is first person, and it's being told kind of in like, not exactly a letter, but it is literally like a story being told, because it's being told kind of the way that like a minstrel would tell a story. And there's a lot of interesting things in here about the integrity of storytelling and how you should only like tell things that you know to be the truth. And so there's obviously some conjecture in here, but yeah, this was really, really well told. I loved Robin Hobb's writing in here, and it just added to the world. Like, my 4.5-star rating was I really, really enjoyed it, and I don't think that Robin Hobb chose the wrong length of story for a novella, but I just I wanted more from it. Like I wanted to stay in here longer. And now in May, it's time to read the Rainwild Chronicles, so I'm really excited to get into one of her novels again. Next up, we have 2 books that are in the midst of their respective series. So first of all, we have my 5-star The Memory of Souls by Jen Lyons, which is the 3rd book in A Chorus of Dragons. And this book is like unhinged, but in a very good way. I can't talk about this. Like, first of all, it's the 3rd book in a series, but it's also the 3rd book in a series where you don't know what's going on. Like, it's getting crazier with every book, but it's also getting better with every book. Like, I will say there was a lot of character growth happening. This very much launches into the rest of the plot. Like, the first 2 books in this series followed some of the same characters, but they also followed kind of 2 different sets of characters, and you're basically kind of setting things up to where they are now, and you're dealing with multiple timelines, and you're still dealing with that in here, but to a lesser extent. Like, this is mostly main timeline plot, and things are developing from here, and I don't know, I loved it. I really, really am invested in these characters, and I love the way that they interact with each other and the way that they're building relationships. I also love the queer norm setting that this kind of whole series represents. I really like the discussions that are kind of being had about how a few characters are maybe coming to terms with their sexuality, and it's more of an interpersonal development for them and their relationships with other people, because it is very much accepted in this world. It's not that sort of problem. It's more just them discovering their identity along with all the other things that are happening in their lives. There are, of course, dragons in these books. There is a lot of high magic. The magic is fascinating. The discussion about gods and how powerful they are and what they are, and also kind of ancient races and their experience with the world and what they know about the problem that is facing this world right now. All of it it comes together in a very fun way. And when you're reading these books, the plot is coherent, but I would need a reread to really wrap my head around this. Regardless though, it is 5 stars, and I am loving this series. And then finally, the last book that I finished in the month of April, and possibly my favorite, although Memory of Souls was phenomenal as well, was The Kingdom of Copper. So once again, this is the middle book in a series, in this case, the 2nd book in a trilogy. And the Daevabad trilogy is really just phenomenal. Some of the same things that I said about Memory of Souls can be said here. You see a lot of personal growth in the characters in this book, but in this book it is also really intertwined with politics and the kind of political instability of Daevabad as a city and the whole kind of Jinn world. And how they interact with the people who are part human and part Jinn, and there's just so much that's being unpacked here about prejudice and history and like vengeance and justice. And it's like, how do you break the cycle of a never-ending war where different factions always want like revenge on each other for things that happened in the past? And Jinn live a long time, so they have very long memories, but how are you ever going to like get justice or feel as though you can live with these people if everybody keeps harming each other? And our characters are like complex. They all have their own motivations, and sometimes you just want to like smack them, but you also like understand where they're coming from at the same time, even if it's really frustrating. And I just think that she has done a phenomenal job with like weaving the world. It is so vibrant and everything about it. Like, this is a series that, as someone who's not a super visual reader, really makes me feel like I'm there, and I love that. So I'm really, really excited to be continuing with Empire of Gold. And I do think this was my favorite book for the month of April. So did I say it was 5 stars? It was obviously 5 stars. Okay, well, apparently when I only read 4 books, my wrap-ups are like shockingly short. I think it's also because the fact that I didn't finish a book in the last week of the month means that I've kind of had time to reflect on my feelings about these books, because I've had like an additional week to sit with them and kind of think about them. And I really did enjoy myself in the month of April, and I'm looking forward to continuing the books that I didn't finish and continuing these series. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with where I am in my reading right now. So with that said, that is it for my wrap up. Those are the 4 things that I finished in April. So please let me know what you think down in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on these books and on my thoughts on them. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. I post new videos on most Mondays and Thursdays. And as always, I will have my socials and joint Discord with Ben linked in the description if you're interested in that stuff. And I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!